are live, I believe. Yeah. So welcome, Emma. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, Astra. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And so this is what I call Teatime Tuesday, because for those people who are watching us live, I'm just going to see whether or not we are live. There's about a 20-second delay. So if people are jumping on live, just bear with us that we won't see you for another 10 seconds or so, but when I start seeing people jump in, I will hopefully be able to acknowledge you on my phone. So this is Tea Time Tuesday with Astra. I am a mindfulness yoga coach, and I'm a tea-loving mindfulness and yoga coach, I should add, which is why I've started these sessions. Because when I'm teaching mindfulness and yoga, a lot of the time you don't get the opportunity to really delve deeper into a lot of issues or things that are coming up for people. Do that in sort of restorative, more deeper practice work, but not in classes. So this is really about what I'm calling a hug in a mug, where we take a time to pause and some of the issues that yoga, I feel, and mindfulness really help. Me, I work with busy professionals, both at home, whether that's personal mindfulness coaching, or in the workplace, whether that's workshops for stress reduction at work. So that's me. You can get me at therapyyoga.co.uk or on Instagram at therapyyoga, Facebook at therapy yoga for wellbeing. So I'm going to hand over to you, Emma. I'm so pleased to have you today. Just introduce yourself to those people listening.
Yeah, sure. So I am I would say a gentle yoga teacher who incorporates some mindfulness as well. And I also teach Yoga Nidra as well. So they're the foundations of what I offer.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love teaching this style of yoga is because it offers people the chance to slow down, kind of take a pause out of their busy day, and kind of moving away from the busyness of the external world, but also the busyness of the internal world as well. So we really do try and focus on calming that busy mind and trying to get a little bit more focus, and I suppose it's inner peace as well. That's what people look for. So that's my teaching, but I offer online classes. I also mentor yoga teachers as well. And before the coronavirus, I did do international retreats as well, but they're on pause.
I did speak to people that I was bringing you on to come on my tea time chat, and they were like, "Oh, the retreat lady, the beautiful retreat lady. That's what you're known as from in the world."
That's lovely. Yeah.
Locations, and I'm sure you'll resume that at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to wait until next year to see what's going on, and then hopefully can return back to Morocco and India. So yes.
Okay, well, I'm not getting anyone at the moment on the live, so we're just going to continue, and I will check in on that from time to time. But yeah, I mean, when I thought about covering anxiety, it's one of those subjects where we don't really talk about it, and especially when you do have anxiety, you become anxious in some ways sometimes about sharing how you're feeling. And I know that in the years that I've been teaching yoga, I've been teaching yoga for about 7 years. Anxiety is one of the main reasons. I don't know whether you get this, that people actually come into a yoga class. So I think it's quite an important topic. And what I thought we would do, as I always suggest on these things, is that we'll just take some time, especially for those people who are watching live or watching on the replay. I hope you brought your teas with you to just pause with tea. I'm just going to talk about my tea. Did you bring some tea today?
I've got a tea. Yeah, I've made a tea as well.
So I make tea, but I also buy tea. And at the moment, I'm a little bit obsessed with Twining's Emotion tea. I don't know if you've seen those.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I brought some along.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsored by Twinings, but if Twinings watching, you know, you can. Okay, so they have these specialist teas. So you can see that they've got a slip tea, and they've got one for moments of calm. Can you see
nice.
that? Like to.
Yeah, I can.
Just about to see that. Yeah, and then the one I'm drinking today is Glow tea. And that has got strawberry, cucumber, and green tea and aloe vera.
Okay.
And
nice.
It's got added what did it say? Biotin, which is apparently good for your skin. So this
okay.
is really lovely tea. So I'll sip while you talk to me about your tea.
Yeah. So today I've got green tea. So I tend to have green tea before I teach in the evening. So it just gives me a little bit of a boost, just a little bit of that caffeine. So yeah, I like to have it just before I'm teaching, because it's kind of that afternoon slump, and thinking actually I probably need a little pep, so I'll go for the green tea.
Yeah, I love a green tea. It's nice in the mornings as well.
Yeah.
Especially if you're kind of not having too much caffeine like coffee. It's a nice alternative. It's got a little bit of caffeine, but I do love a green tea. So if you'd like to join, I'm inviting you now, Emma, to join me in a sip of awareness, and we'll just take some time to pause before we start our session. Lovely. Okay, all right. So I wanted you to really share with me some of the things that people may identify as anxiety, excuse me, because, you know, it is a word that's used quite frivolously sometimes. You know, I'm very but actually, when you're talking about symptoms of anxiety, there's a spectrum, isn't there? And it can kind of move to quite more severe mental health. So just wanted you to talk a little bit more about the type of anxiety that the yoga can help.
Yeah, so maybe so as you said, anxiety is a spectrum, and some people will suffer from the effects more than others. It can depend on lots of different factors. Some of the kind of experiences of anxiety can be a heightened level of fear, which is not always based on what's actually going on in life. So, for example, people may have had an illness or something difficult, stressful in their life, and we respond with stressors. We respond with stress, that's normal. But it's when the stressor has finished and it's kind of like a long-term thing where that continuous worry is kind of going around in the mind. So it can be palpitations, shortness of breath. It can be kind of dizziness, avoiding certain areas, certain things. And it also, what I find is it really knocks people's confidence as well. So
I'll break some of those down a little bit just so we can slow down. So I'm now just seeing people on now. But yeah, so you spoke about shortness of breath, did you say? Just repeat some of the things that people may identify as anxiety. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So one of them is shortness of breath.
Yeah.
So and also it can be heart palpitations. People can feel a little bit kind of dizzy, spaced out. It can also be like sweating, and the kind of there is a feeling of fear. That's kind of the overwhelming experience, or sometimes people are not quite sure as well. And this is the body going into kind of that fight or flight mode, and the body's reacting to not always that the stressor is there. So it's something that's maybe happened in the past. And also it can affect people's sleep as well, difficulty going off to sleep and waking very early as well.
And so how would you say, I mean, I've had anxiety in the past, and I would say it was very sensitive to what I was going through at the time.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if you can personally relate as well to that. But, you know, how would you say separate that from, you know, sort of that perpetual anxiety, or just very specific to a situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I was thinking about this in relation to the pandemic, because people are experiencing more anxiety right now, but there is a real increase of stress and health issues, and, you know, fears that are actually normal fears, because lots of us have, well, none of us have ever been in this situation before. So so I suppose a way to distinguish if something is from kind of life stress, or whether it's maybe anxiety. So I was thinking from my own kind of personal experience. So 10 years ago, I worked as a social worker, and it was very, very stressful. And because I was at that high level of stress, it did go into anxiety. And a symptom of that is when I had left the job for quite a period of time. So I had a kind of a fear of visiting that town completely. So I would actually, of like, it's not my own town, it's one very close. But it's like nobody's gonna force me to go back and do that job, but I had a kind of a gut feeling in my stomach. I would just feel like a complete dread. Just the thought of driving past that town, driving through the town. So I think that's anxiety, because the threat has actually gone, but I'm still associating a high level of fear with something associated to that.
I totally understand that, and it is that it's that kind of physical trigger, isn't it? It's a physical, it's a physical trigger that's creating. Well, the mind starts it, and then it's a kind of a loop, isn't it? That you get the physical reaction to what the mind's telling you, and then you're telling the mind something again, and it's that circular thing, isn't it? But I can totally relate to that, and so a lot of people who are wanting to identify their anxiety, it's important to kind of understand where it's coming from.
Definitely.
For example, was that anxiety of association, you know, that something is triggering that feeling in the body, which feels like real fear, doesn't it?
The feeling is 100% real. That's the thing. Even though somebody looking outside is thinking, it's okay to go to that town, why are you scared to go there? But you are just so frightened, and you're not even you can't always express, like, why is it that I'm feeling this way? And people who you know, it can be social anxiety, so people are very fearful of maybe going to certain places. And also it can be another fear that happens is if somebody's had a panic attack or anxiety in a certain place, they then can associate that place with kind of, I hope I don't have another panic attack. So it's basically trying to the mind is over assessing the danger around you kind of all the time. It's just on high alert, and it's very difficult to just reduce that high alert level of kind of, and finding that safety within.
And so I think that kind of really lends to yoga, because you know those words, finding that safety within, because we are creating that sense of feeling unsafe ourselves, mind-body interaction, you know, so it gets to the stage where you don't know which one's coming first, whether it's you get that feeling, and then you think about it more, or the other way around. So how does yoga, from your personal experience, but also from your teaching experience, really start to alleviate some of those symptoms? And I've just before you answer that, I've just managed to see we've got Zoe Smith. Zoe's another yoga teacher. Great, good to see you. I hope you're still on, Zoe. And Zoe loves the Pure Chamomile by Twinings. I love that as well. Just
nice.
bed. And then Zoe says that she loves the Neal's Yard herbal tea. Yes, I've drank the turmeric and ginger one of that. That's brilliant. So thank you, Zoe, for joining us, and anyone else that's joined us. There is a 20-second delay, but also there is a problem with my internet on my phone, so it may have clicked in and out. So anybody on the replay, please send any comments, and we can chat back afterwards. So back to what you were saying, Emma, about how yoga in your experience can start to alleviate some of those feelings in the body.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of different ways. So I like to combine the movement with the Yoga Nidra meditation. And the reason...
Sorry to cut you.
And no, that's okay.
So it's quite difficult because sometimes you can hear me, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
I did have my headphones on the other sessions. But yeah, let's just explain Yoga Nidra, because there's lots of people that haven't come across that before.
Yeah, so Yoga Nidra is a meditation practice, and it is different to other meditation. One of the ways is that you do it laying down. So rather than seated, you lay down, you get nice and comfy, nice and cozy, and it's different to seated meditation because it's a little bit more subtle in the mind. So you kind of everything around you almost kind of dissipates. So that's my own kind of distinction from normal meditation, because for me personally, I'm more alert when I'm doing other meditations. This is for a really kind of like bringing the nervous system down to a really calm, safe, secure, hopefully relaxed feeling as well.
And you teach Yoga Nidra quite often. Is it a weekly session you do?
Yeah, so with my yoga classes, I teach Yoga Nidra in every single class. Wow. So it's always gentle yoga for about an hour, and then we always have the Yoga Nidra at the end as well. So it's really, integral to what I do.
How is it? So as a yoga teacher myself, I do lying meditation, but I don't do specifically Yoga Nidra, because I know that there is a specific process to it. So we've got Denise. Hi, Denise. Welcome. She said, please explain Yoga Nidra. So what is the process of Yoga Nidra that helps with anxiety?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I think it's so effective with stress and anxiety is because it's guided, okay? And as you're guiding the person, you are asking them to direct their awareness and their mind to different things. So with anxiety, sometimes it can be a little bit frightening when you just have silent meditation, because it's like all the thoughts are kind of going really, really 100 miles an hour. But this is a very step-by-step process, and it's gradually taking you to a deeper level of relaxation. So it's very, very accessible, I would say, and many people who are just starting out, they find that maybe within that first session, they can really access a level of relaxation they've never had in their whole life. And that's not necessarily always the first time. It might be 3 months later, 8 months later, but it's very, very accessible. That's the key to it.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're talking about it being guided, because a lot of people who are frightened of yoga, because when you've got anxiety, a lot of the time, lots of things, including yoga, becomes a point of anxiety. And I've had personal private classes that I teach with people who suffer with quite severe anxiety, and they might cancel every week, every week, because the actual fact that we're going to be doing the yoga causes a point of fear as well, and this is kind of more on the extreme level of anxiety, wanting to leave the house, frightened of people coming into the house, things like that. I've taught that, and it's that sense, I would say, that there's someone there to support you. So the fact that the Nidra is very supportive, as in the voice is always there in the background. Is that why I think it works specifically with anxiety?
Yeah, I think it does, but then there's also an aspect to Yoga Nidra is about relationship to the teacher as well. So I think as a teacher sharing this practice, if you can make the people feel as safe and comfortable, and there's like non-judgmental, and what I say at the beginning is, you can't get this practice wrong, because there's always that kind of thing, oh no, I'm going to do it wrong, or but
I get that so often in my class.
Yeah. And it's saying this is an invitation for you to have a go, for you to explore. And it's trying to take that pressure, because when people have anxiety, what I notice is that they're really hard on themselves. Definitely. That it's like, I wish I could do this. Why aren't I doing that? I need to do this. And it can feel very, like, you're very trapped sometimes. So it's just saying, let's just have a go. Let's explore. And see how you get on. There's no pressure. There is no perfection. That can also be a thing, isn't it? We're so scared to do something not correctly, or somebody's going to say, oh, you've done it wrong. But it's really opening it up to say, let's just share this practice and hopefully enjoy it as well, because it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I invited you on is because you're kind of my tribe, in the sense that you're very laid back, and your approach to yoga is very similar to mine, in that there's an emphasis on, just giving yourself a break, going easy, going gentle. So many aspects to life at the moment that you can beat yourself up about.
There is,
you can't be doing that in a yoga space, yoga space, and sometimes because of the style of yoga that we've become very familiar with in the West, it is another space for competitiveness, because everyone's been doing it for years, and you're comparing yourself to other people in the past. And as you say, that idea of right and wrong, which I think, this perfection thing and this right and wrong thing can be quite Western centric, that kind of, there's a right way or a wrong way, rather than just and it reminds me a lot about mindfulness. I'm mindfulness trained, and so a lot of it is about awareness with deep self-compassion. And with guidance as well. So some people find guidance annoying, because some people just like silence, and if you like silence, that's great. As you say, people that are anxious or suffer with anxiety, it's helpful to have that guidance in the background.
Yeah, and also if you're tired as well. Right. Because sometimes if we're tired, we think, I would say Yoga Nidra is very accessible to the tired person. Okay.
Are you feeling like people who are generally tired, or people that are exhausted because they're maybe managing things like anxiety?
It can be both, because I find myself that I go towards Yoga Nidra when I'm feeling particularly tired, because when we're tired, we have less motivation, and it's quite easy, I would say, to just lay down and get a blanket. That's generally quite a nice reassuring thing, and you say, let's just lay down, get cozy. It just seems like, okay, that's okay. And you just know that the practice, you're going to sit down, this is the structure, this is how it's going to be, it's going to be this amount of time, and it just makes it just very easy.
So sorry, how long is it?
So I usually teach about a 15-20 minute Yoga Nidra practice. It can go up to maybe like 40 minutes plus. But if you're going up to that 40 minutes and that point, most people will fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I
and
tend
the
to
aim
do a
is
bit
not to
less.
fall asleep, is it? The aim is not to fall asleep. It's permission to pause in a restful state, isn't it?
Yeah. So so people do fall asleep, and that's actually okay. It's
But
people
it
use
means
it to
sleep,
help.
doesn't it? Nidra translates to sleep. Is that right?
Yeah, Nidra means sleep. So the kind of the aim is not necessarily to go to sleep unless it's for a sleep Nidra. But if you're very tired, you're exhausted, maybe you have babies, you have life juggling. If people do fall asleep when they listen to my Yoga Nidra, I say that's maybe what they needed that day.
Yeah.
So again, it's not necessarily the rigid, this is what it should be, but one of the ways of, and the yogic way of understanding Nidra, Yoga Nidra, is that you're almost asleep, but you still are conscious and you're still awake. So you can almost be in a state of Yoga Nidra.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways of understanding it.
I mean, I've done Yoga Nidra. I don't teach it, but I've done it, and I like to call it an energetic sleep. So there's kind of energy there, but you are dropping into and there, when people talk about sleep and you really get into kind of the psychology of sleep, there are different levels of sleep. So it is a form of sleep, but not what we would associate with overnight. I was just laughing there because Zoe said, "Sold, I'm doing a Nidra after this."
Oh, brilliant. Excellent.
As well.
I'll share one of my Yoga Nidras.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So let's talk about where people can come jump onto your Yoga Nidra and your yoga course. You've got yoga course starting, haven't you? When is that?
Yeah, so next week I'm starting my next 4-week online yoga term. So this includes, so I do 3 live yoga classes per week.
Yeah.
And as I said, we do gentle yoga and then we do a Yoga Nidra.
Online.
It's all online, yeah, and it's actually in a private Facebook group, so it's very simple. If people are not very good with technology, they're a bit scared, I do it in the group, and then people have access to all of the replays if you can't join the lives, and it's accessible for all levels, including beginners, and also all body shapes and sizes are welcome within the group as well, which is something we both feel is important, don't we? I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, no, yoga has to be inclusive. They have to create a culture of inclusivity in the yoga space, for everyone to feel that they can be safe, really, because you can't benefit from yoga if you don't feel safe in an environment. Yeah, that's really important. I'm just going to pose a question to those of you who are listening, whether you're yoga teachers or people who suffer with anxiety. If you have any kind of queries for us, please post them here. We've got another 5 minutes on just talking to Emma more about what she does. But if you have any questions for us about yoga and anxiety, but also if you'd like to share, if you've got personal experience around how, the indications that you might have of having anxiety, just sharing that with us, any kind of areas that we can talk about a little bit more, please do.
Can I just add something in, Astra, that I forgot to mention at the beginning? So I'm a yoga teacher. And I was a social worker before, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. So if you are experiencing, anxiety that's affecting your life, it's really important that you go and speak to your GP. So I just want to make that distinction. Yes, yoga can help. But we're all individual, and some of us will need to have Western intervention and need to explore other avenues as well. So it's not a cure-all for everybody. We're all different, and especially if you're at the higher end, please do seek that support. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. And I know that at the beginning, and it's important to repeat these messages, because at the beginning I did say that we're not talking about the extreme end of anxiety. This is more about the feelings of anxiety. And actually, anxiety, as I said before, can be a really long-term mental health problem. And as you say, that's a GP you're speaking to about that.
And sometimes it's difficult for people to distinguish how severe they are. So I just wanted to add that in, because I have spoke to people who are very, very on the severe end, but they haven't realised that they're on the severe end because they've dealt with it for so long, and they've been able to manage and cope with it for so long.
That's a very good point.
Sometimes it can be challenging for people to figure out where they are on that scale. So maybe you need to have that conversation with somebody else, and maybe that is speaking to, you know, a doctor, I would say. You know,
and I
if it's in.
Sorry, go on. No, I think just as a rule of thumb, if you're experiencing symptoms that are persistent, emotionally, physically, which is how anxiety translates, it's emotionally and physically in the body, then you should be speaking to your GP anyway. So that's a really good point. All right, so I do have some questions for you, Emma. So the first one is, does your 4-week course, is it just lying down?
No, no, unfortunately not. Lots of my students would love for it to just be lying down. No, it's not. So we do about 55 minutes to an hour of movement, so yoga poses, but the poses that I'm teaching, they tend to be poses that help you feel more calm, relaxed and grounded. So we do a lot of kind of floor poses. We take it slow and steady, and then we have about 15-20 minutes at the end of laying down, getting cozy. So it's really good to start off with movement, because we all hold stress in our body. So we do the movement, and then it actually really helps people to move into the meditation where their body feels more relaxed and their mind feels more calm, to actually access that meditation. But yeah, it does sound nice to one day I may do that.
How long are your classes? Is that 90 minutes then?
So they're an hour and 15 minutes, my classes.
15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, but that was a good question. Love it. That's really important.
Thank you for that, Denise. And so we've got Louise. Hi, Louise. So good to see you. Will Yoga Nidra help with general sleep quality?
Yes, it will. Yeah, I think it will, because as I said, it's a step-by-step process of calming and quieting the mind. So generally when people can't sleep, it's because their mind is just going, and you can't switch off the mind. But this is going to give you a really lovely process to help you relax and let go. So what happens with sleep is we can't let go of the day and the thoughts, but actually it helps us to transition into allowing us to think that's finished now, and now we are able to rest, we're able to sleep now. So I'll just tell you about somebody who I worked with. He woke up at 4 a.m. every single morning. He had anxiety for all of his life, and I got him to do a Yoga Nidra every single night, and he was able to sleep in for an extra 2 hours every single morning. Because he was able to do this practice every single night and learn the technique to help him switch off. So I do have a Yoga Nidra that lots of my students, they fall asleep to. So Yoga
Nidra is really, really beneficial for sleep. So that
definitely, definitely.
So thank you for the question, Louise. And then hi Emma, hi, good to see you. And I'm freezing a lot, so it looks like I'm probably not listening to you, Emma, but I think my screen is freezing. Okay,
no.
Dean's got another, I don't know if it's a question or a query. I came across Yoga Nidra meditation at the start of the pandemic to get me to sleep. I didn't realize until today that it was a type of meditation, not a type of yoga. I don't know if that's a statement or a question.
So meditation is yoga. As Astra will know, meditation is a key part of yoga. But usually we know yoga to be just the movement part, but actually meditation, working with the mind, is a central aspect to the practice of yoga. Yoga Nidra is a very specific technique that has been developed. So yeah, it's
a good point, you know, because we could have another discussion about the definition of yoga, because there's a lot of misconceptions, which is due to all different cultural influences about what yoga actually is. Making that distinction. Lorraine says, sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. I think she's answering with regards to the sleep question.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, you've literally gone through all of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. So I'm really appreciative. I'm very grateful for you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Astra. I've really enjoyed it. It's been
good. And so just
lovely connecting.
Just so people can know, because it looks like you do have some interest in calls coming up. What's your handles? How can people get hold of you?
So the course details are on my website, which is www.yogawithemmakelly.com. And then if you want to have a look at some of my videos, some of my information, I have a Facebook page, which is Yoga with Emma Kelly again. And then my Instagram is Yoga with Emma as well.
Fabulous.
So, and you can contact me if you have some questions. I'm very happy to answer them. So yeah, everybody, you're welcome to come along and join me.
Fabulous. You've been so generous. I appreciate
thank
it.
you so much.
And so, yeah, so that's the end of our tea time session. I hope you guys had a chance, those of you listening had a chance to pause with your tea. If you didn't, I suggest you do that now and jump onto one of Emma's classes. I do teach yoga online as well. I'm starting my online yoga classes again in a couple of weeks. So look out for that on my website, and look out for my podcast, which should be coming very soon as well. All right, so have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening. All right, you take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.